Hi, curious dude here with another update on the 72 Westfalia Gus the Crunchy Bus. So today we are going to take a closer look at the engine. So in an earlier episode, we did a check on the spark plugs. There's no mechanical damage. Some interesting facts about the spark plugs, which we'll share with you later. But today we're going to do a compression test. The engine, there's no way to warm it. It has no carburetor. So basically I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oil, 30 weight into each cylinder. We'll give it 6, 8, 10 cranks, and you'll follow along with us, and we'll see what kind of a reading we get in each of the cylinders. Okay, so we've put a little oil in the cylinder. We've got a little better gauge here, and we'll give it 8 or 10 cranks and see what we get for wet compression on a cold, abandoned Type 4 engine. Go ahead, Chris, crank it. Okay, stop. All right, so we had about 75 PSI on cylinder number 1. So now we're on number 2, which is one we checked earlier and it was really low. So we'll see how this works with the oil. Okay, Chris, crank it. Okay. All right, about 75 PSI as well. What am I checking? Why am I checking PSI? So an engine, right, is an air pump. And so the pounds per square inch of pressure that can be built in the cylinder relates to the well-being of the engine. So if it has even PSI across all the cylinders and has lots of pressure, which is different for each engine, that tells us that, you know, the engine might be in reasonable health. The rings are sealing, the valves are sealing. You might be able to make it run. And that's what we're trying to do in this case. My hope is that, you know, the cylinders are fairly even and that we're building some pressure. I think in the Bentley manual, or maybe it was on Ratwell, like 81 to 120 is sort of evidence of a good running motor. Of course, with about 20 PSI difference between the cylinders, but any more than that or any less than that could mean a well-worn engine, and we're just trying to save this. So hopefully that's the case here. Now we're on to cylinder number 3, and we'll see what we get for reading. Okay, Chris, crank it. Okay, stop. Okay, so on that one, we were only around 60, 65 PSI, a little lower than we want. So, okay, here we are there on final cylinder. And if you hear me panting, I'm sorry. It's like where we live is in the Canadian prairies and it's hot. It's 36 degrees, which is like 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's raining. So this is unusual weather for us. Excuse my panting. Okay, Chris, let's try this last one. Go ahead. Okay. Okay, so we got up to 100 PSI on that cylinder. That's very good. Okay, so let's talk about final results and then look at these plugs. So cylinder pressure 175, 275, 365, eek, getting scary, and 4 is 100. If you look for 1700, I think the lowest limit is around 80 PSI, with a difference of 20 PSI being acceptable. Well, I have one cylinder below 80, so that's not good. What's more concerning is that the biggest difference is in excess of 30 PSI between cylinders 3 and 4. Now, to complicate this a little bit, this engine hasn't been run for years and years, like maybe 13 years. So the engine is cold. There's some expansion that happens with the rings and pistons and fit that may increase these values. The valve lash is at 12,000, which I'm pretty sure is about double what it should be. So that's also affecting some cylinder pressure. So, you know, this here is enough to say that engine is probably tired, quite tired, and it's going to be needing a rebuild. Will it run the way it is? Yeah, it might. And that's the kind of route we're going to take with this project. We'll try and get it running, and then we can look at next steps. And, you know, once we've got it run and tuned properly, then we can take another compression test and see. But here's an interesting piece. So these were the plugs that came out of it, which other than a little bit of soiling, a little bit of carbon deposit, and so forth, you know, they obviously ran the vehicle at one point. But what's kind of neat is that we went and Googled up Champion N11YC plugs just to see what they all fit. Well, you know what they fit? They fit small engines. So these are basically lawnmower spark plugs. So the fact that they were running in the Volkswagen is cool, interesting, and a little bit scary at the same time, because I'm not sure mechanically what else was done to the motor and to the truck, or to the bus in the past. But anyways, we're definitely going to replace those with some proper Bosch or NGK plugs, and keep pressing along. So that's an update on the compression. Not necessarily good news, but enough that we're going to press ahead and try and get this thing fired up. We're going to order some great some dual Weber ICTs or some Solexes from CB Performance, and we'll look forward to putting those on and getting some fuel to the motor. We know that it does spark. We did a spark test, so that's great. And yeah, so that's an update on Gus the Crunchy Bus. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll stay tuned for more.